Windows 101 Codes. Just like there are numerous window shape options, there are just as many window code options. And depending on where your home is, depends on which building codes matter the most. As you already know, your state and even your local town or municipality has and enforces building code regulations to ensure new homes and remodeling projects are safely and professionally completed. But sometimes it's a challenge just to keep up with the way some of these requirements affect the product that is presented or sold, particularly when it comes to windows. The good news is that building codes make homes safer for those who live in them. For example, coastal areas of the country are in hurricane debris markets and may require impact-resistant windows and doors. That's an obvious advantage if you happen to be in a home during a hurricane with debris flying all around. But it's also needed to keep the pressure inside the home steady so the roof stays on. Too many homes are destroyed during hurricanes because the building envelope is compromised and the change in pressure and wind velocity pulls the roof off. Having an impact solution for the windows and doors is an easy solution. Sometimes this need can be accommodated by plywood or a shutter over the opening. But sometimes external solutions don't actually hold up the way they're intended to. Impact glass, on the other hand, can meet the hurricane debris code without any additional covering. They are also nice when the power is out and you need light to inspect any damage. Impact-resistant glass is made with an invisible plastic interlayer sandwiched between two panes of glass on the interior side of the glass panel. The outside pane may break, but the laminated interior pane will hold and limit objects from penetrating the window. A small hole may result, and under extreme and repetitive impacts the glass may break further, but the interlayer material will keep the window unit intact under even extreme hurricane category conditions. Most code requirements around the country aren't for such extreme circumstances, and areas that have hurricane debris or high wind zone markets often only require them for certain distances from the actual coastline. As you go inland, the code changes, and so does the required product performance. The thing to remember is a code may be in place, so you'll need to verify with a local building inspector if you have any questions about what a specific home needs to stay up to code and keep its occupants safe. For example, along the coast, a home may be required to have a certain design pressure or DP rating without necessarily having to impact resistance. The DP rating indicates the product's performance in wind, water, and stress load testing. The higher the number, the better it performs. But the requirement for a DP 50 window can drop to a requirement for a DP 35 from one street to another. This difference can mean a lot in terms of what a product costs, so it's best to know exactly what is required. An error on the high side of a requirement just ensures performance beats the minimum need. An error on the low side could mean starting over, and that's never a cheap fix. Some code requirements aren't specific to your geographical location, but to the location of the window in the house. When it comes to safety, glass is at the top of the list for potential risk, so nearly every building code will require certain windows and doors to have tempered glass, especially those next to doors or in bathrooms or close to the floor, or wherever it's more likely someone could come into accidental contact with broken glass. The reason is simple. Regular annealed glass will form shards when it breaks, making it all too easy for someone to get cut. So in places where kids tend to run, or people tend to slip and fall, tempered glass must be used because it won't shard. You might have seen a car window break before. Instead of breaking into sharp pieces, the glass just crumbles. That's why tempered glass is sometimes referred to as safety glass. It will still break, but it will break apart in such a way to avoid deep cuts and lacerations. Again, a qualified building inspector is a great resource to let you know exactly which scenarios require tempered glass. Another code that may vary slightly by market is the egress requirement. Egress basically means exit, and an egress window is designed to allow a person to exit a dwelling when on an upper floor in the case of an emergency. Egress windows make sure the person has the room needed to get out. They also make it easier for firemen or rescue personnel to get into a home. The standard egress requirement is an open area of 5.7 square feet. But that comes with a minimum width and a minimum height for a sash when the window is open. The best thing to do is check your local building code to make sure every project has the right window size to meet any applicable egress code requirement. Not all building codes for windows and doors are necessarily for the safety of the people in the home. Florida has what's simply referred to as the Turtle Code. Turtles hatch at night and typically fall under a full moon. Their instinct is to go toward the moon, which should lead to the ocean. Unfortunately, the full moon also reflects off glass, so turtles right out of the egg ended up heading in droves inland toward the false moon and all the predators waiting to make them their next meal. Because of this, Florida has a code that requires a gray, non-reflective coating on windows so turtles aren't confused about what direction to travel when they are born. In certain markets, window glass also plays a big role in meeting energy efficiency requirements. Energy codes can be tricky because they may have a U-value requirement, a solar heat gain requirement, or a requirement for both performance standards. Energy codes are designed to add a higher degree of thermal efficiency to a home's outer blanket. The better the windows and doors perform, the less the home's air conditioner and furnace have to work, and the more energy we all have available. A lower U value indicates that the window or door does a better job of insulating, keeping temperature from flowing through the glass. A lower solar heat gain coefficient indicates the window or door's ability to block the sun's heat. In simple terms, a low emissivity glass, low E glass, will reflect the sun's heat away from the home in the summer, and the furnace's heat back into the home in the winter. Both of these values should be clearly visible on each product on a prominently placed label. Each area of the country could have different requirements for thermal efficiency. In the north, for example, many people want the sun's heat to come through in the winter, so they want a higher solar heat gain number. And they want the cold to stay out, so they may prefer a low insulating U value. By contrast, a home in the heat of the Gulf Stream or southern Texas would probably have better energy efficiency with windows that have a low solar heat gain number, windows that block more of the sun's heat from penetrating through the glass. Specific energy codes are intended to put logical requirements on which materials are put into a home. Because these can change dramatically from one area to the next, get to know your local requirements, as well as the thermal properties of the windows and doors you sell. It is common for a window to fail to meet code with the standard glass package, but that same window might be code compliant if you add a low E coating. A simple glass upgrade may prove to be more affordable than going to a completely different window series. Just keep in mind that many projects may be delayed or denied altogether because of some violation, often simply because the homeowner, builder, or remodeling professional is unaware of a product's performance or that a requirement existed in the first place. Knowing your building inspectors and seeking their counsel concerning any question is always a smart decision. We've only touched on a few of the most common code requirements to illustrate how important they can be to your project's successful completion. Remember that codes change and inspectors move on, so do whatever you can to participate in continuing your education and building trusting relationships with professional partners who can help you navigate building requirements in your market.